Good morning, family. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. And today for lunch, we're going to make sauerkraut and brats. It only requires 10 minutes. And so, hold on. Here we go. The first step is to take your sauerkraut and you're going to empty it into a strainer and drain off all the liquid. So that's our first step, is to dump it into the strainer and let all the liquid run out. We'll just spread it out there, make sure. And it can just sit there for a while. Okay, so the first step is to generously pour in your avocado oil. And the good thing about avocado oil is it's a healthy fat, and it's the only one I recommend for cooking at high temperature. Now, I use other oils like avocado oil, and of course, as I mentioned yesterday or before, sesame oil, but never cook with those at high temperature, because those oils, when they have a very low flash point, which is a temperature at which the fat starts to break down and release its carbon molecules and become carcinogenic. Whereas avocado oil, you can heat to very high temperatures, and as you can see, this is already a medium, large gas burning, and there's no smoke whatsoever. That's how you know that the oil is healthy at high temperature. So what we're going to do is we're going to take about a half cup of onion, and we're going to put it on, and we allow the pan to heat up, and then we put it on low, and what we want to do is caramelize the onion. So we only want to get it just slightly brown. The reason is because everything we're using in this dish is already pre-cooked. So it's pretty much just a matter of heating everything up. So the nice thing is that avocado oil itself is pretty much flavorless. It has almost no flavor profile whatsoever. And so, depending on the seasonings that you add to it, when you allow that to break down in the oil will completely pick up that flavor. So the white onion is very sweet, and you can tell that because of the fact that it does brown or caramelize, and it gives it a very nice flavor. So it has an onion flavor. It's not a tangy onion, but it's a sweet onion. So the next thing we're going to add is the Trader Joe's fire roasted pepper and onion mix. As I said, this is pre-cooked, so all we're doing is heating it up from frozen. And for this recipe, we use a half bag. It might seem like a lot, but it's actually, when it cooks down, it won't be that much, but it gives it a nice flavor profile. So all I do is just pinch off about half, drop it right in. And as I said, it's pre-cooked, and it's got oil in it, so it gives it a really nice flavor. So the next ingredient we're going to add is the Trader Joe's sun-dried tomato, and as you can see, it is in olive oil, so that's where you get the nice olive oil flavor. But as I said, olive oil is not something that you want to cook on high heat, because even though it's very good for you, it has a fairly low flash point. So what we have here is, now that we slightly browned the onions, everything else in here is just on low heat, which is primarily to warm it up. So for this dish, you just want to use a nice hefty tablespoon or two tablespoons, I think, is best. And you can see the nice rich flavor. You can tell by the color. It's a very sweet, that is as sweet as cherries actually. So it's a good source of carbohydrates. Alright, so while these are cooking, and like I said, you want to keep the temperature low so that it does not smoke, since you've now added olive oil to it. But we'll start adding the seasoning. You can see the tomatoes are starting to, the sun-dried tomatoes turning the oils to a red color. And so while it's cooking now, we're going to add some seasoning. Next thing we're going to add is the Chinese spices. And as I said, this is not available at Trader Joe's, but you can get it at your typical Ralph's or Safeway. And so it's a very strong flavor profile, so you don't need a lot of it, in fact. So it actually has such a very strong flavor profile and has a tendency to clump. So I just put it on the tooth of a fork and tap it to get it to spread. Alright, and that's how you get it to spread. Alright, so the next ingredient that we're going to add is red pepper from Trader Joe's. So this is just your basic cayenne pepper, but the Trader Joe's is very good quality, so that's what we'll add next. And of course you have to set it to your personal taste when it comes to pepper. You know, my saying is that when you're crying, you know you're having a good time. But I don't think everybody lives by that mantra. Now we're going to add the brats. And like I said, the idea here is to keep this down to 10 minutes. So I typically, for all meats, potatoes, and celery, anything of that nature, onion, whatever I'm cooking, I just use a nice pair of shears. And so I'll cut this open. And so for my specific ideal weight, which is 180 pounds, I only need to eat 1/3 of protein in the form of meat, knowing that all the meats I use have about a 20% fat ratio. So it'd be 80% protein and 20% healthy fat. So all you have to do is cut it like this. And depending on your taste, you can make either thick dollops like that, or you can make them very thin. It just depends on what you like. But as you can see, there's very little opportunity to cut yourself, and so it's very fast. And of course, these are pre-cooked, so there's no issue there with having to worry about how long you allow it to cook. The whole idea here, like I said, is it's a 10-minute dish to make. You're simply just warming it up. Okay, so as you can see now, all the dollops of the brat are laid out in the dish, and they're just basically heating up. So then the next thing we'll add is this other Trader Joe product. It's sesame oil, and as I said, the idea is that we're really cooking this at just simply a warm temperature, because we don't want to have any of these oils reach their flash point. The other important thing is notice that this is organic as well, right? And lots of healthy fats. So all the fats, the olive oil, the fats from the broth, the sesame oil are all healthy fats. And you just take it and I just put my thumb over the top like this so I can control it like a spout. And then just a nice smooth layer of flavor. And so there's only one last thing we'll add. This is just to keep in the tradition of sauerkraut, which is to add the dill flavor, and that's why I use this. Now you can choose to use sweet pickle relish. It doesn't really have a high carbohydrate count for the amount you're going to use, but I prefer the dill taste, so either sweet or dill pickle relish, and I'm just going to use about a teaspoonful. Okay, so I've actually switched to my paddles. This is typically what I use, are wooden spoons, and I do that because I use this copper ceramic dish, and I don't want to scratch it. So I'm not really that big a fan of using plastics unless they're BPA-free. But as I mentioned, everything that's in here right now is cooked. The temperature is very low. You can see there's no smoke. The only thing that was smoking earlier, or would be smoking right now, are the fresh onions that we put in. The oil is not at the flash point, so we won't crack it, which releases the olive oils in here and the sesame oil that would release the carcinogens. So everything is nice and mixed together. Just a little bit. So now the final thing we're going to add here is the sauerkraut. We allowed it to drain, and we're just going to dump it in and mix it. It still has a lot of liquid in it, so as we mix it together, we'll allow it to cook off. And like I said, everything is cooked, and the only thing we're doing is warming the sauerkraut. So you have two options though. Once you mix it together, make sure it's completely mixed. Once it's completely mixed, you can actually turn the temperature up on high and to slightly brown the cabbage, which when you do that will bring out a little of the sweetness. Okay, so now that everything is mixed together, I've raised the temperature all the way to high, and it's just to give the cabbage a little bit of a brown. You can see it's starting to pick up the brown color. And with vegetables, it's especially ones that are cruciferous, it's good to heat them up a little because that breaks the fiber somewhat. And of course, whenever you break the fiber, that releases the sugar within it, but it also allows it to be easier on your digestive system. Okay, so here is the sauerkraut and brats. 10 minutes to make. Of course, it took longer for shooting this video, but it's a quick and easy lunch.